Hello. Those of you that don't know, I'm Jessie, and I'm the leader of the missions committee here at Wellspring. And we are privileged today to have our missionary of the month of January with us in person. It's been 2 years since Amy has been here. But this is Amy Mich. She serves with Young Life in Grenoble, France. And a couple of things I wanted to say. We will be having a lunch together at Jumbo Buffet if you want to talk with her more individually, or just, come and hang out with us and have some lunch. We'll be in the big room, the side room at Jumbo Buffet, and you should still be able to make it to Tatum and Zoe's graduation party. And also, don't forget that I'm in the foyer with the cards for our missionaries of the month every Sunday after service. Turn it over to Amy.
Good morning. I was going to set a timer, but maybe I don't need to. I am so happy to be here with you. As Jessie said, it's been 2 years, a little over 2 years. I am originally from Oskaloosa, Iowa, for those of you who know Oski. Very proud to be from Iowa. But I live in France. I've been there for over 16 years, and I really work with Young Life Western Europe. I won't go into all the countries that includes, but I live in France. France has been part of my story for over 25 years, even longer than that, since I was 14 and studying French in high school. Next slide, please. So if you don't know Young Life, the heart of the ministry is how do we reach unchurched youth, specifically middle schoolers and high schoolers. And the mission of Young Life is introducing adolescents to Jesus Christ and helping them grow in their faith, which is great. I love this mission, but it's not always so easy to figure out how to do that. How do we accomplish this mission? Next slide. So in France, we're quite small. The history is very big in France, but we are a small ministry, but it is growing and thriving. We have a lot of challenges, but I just want to encourage you that the Lord is doing some great things in France. I live in Grenoble, which it might be hard to see. It's the red star down south where the pointer is. Thank you. I've been in Grenoble for 12 years now, just about 12 years. We have ministry there, and we have ministry in Lyon. Has anybody here been to France before? Yay, yay. So Grenoble's probably not the top visited place to go, but it is a great city to live in, and the ministry to the middle schoolers and high schoolers is really thriving in Grenoble. I'm very proud of our staff, our volunteers, the people who are coming alongside this vision of ministry. And in Lyon, it's also really growing and thriving. And then I'll share some exciting news about the future. I also get the privilege of coming alongside our staff in Luxembourg. You might remember me talking about Luxembourg, tiny little country, but there are a lot of people who need to hear the gospel in Luxembourg too. So I talk a lot about France. That's the bulk of what I do, but Luxembourg is also part of what I get to come alongside the staff, and ministry is also really growing and thriving in Luxembourg. Next slide, please. So I mentioned we have challenges. We all have challenges, especially when you are working in a Christian ministry. And so in France, you may know this, you might not know this, it is a very secular country. The separation of church and state is very strong. So in schools, in public schools, there's to be no representation of your faith. You cannot wear a cross, you cannot show anything that identifies your faith. That's in a public school. And also, skepticism about Christianity is very real. In fact, just in September, there was a unfortunate documentary that came out about evangelicals in France, and it has caused a stir. And I feel like we have already received some backlash from that. People who are very leery of who are you, what do, you want to brainwash us, you are a cult. And so in France, there's a very strong just skepticism is very prevalent there in regard to Christians, specifically Protestants, evangelicals. And then working with youth, there are a lot of laws to abide by, which are important, but it also makes it very challenging. And there tends to be a bit of fear, I would say, amongst people when we share the vision of what we're trying to accomplish. And especially even in the Christian world, they'll say, well, how are you going to do that? And there's just kind of this like, you have to be careful. And so I will just say this. I agree, and we need to respect the laws of the land, but we're trying to figure out how can we boldly proclaim the gospel and not live in fear. So be wise, but be bold. And so that is kind of our motto as we are navigating how do we enter into this mission. I will say, what people often say is, wouldn't it just be easier if you worked with university students, right? Because they're adults and you don't have to deal with as many of the issues. But I'm like, no, we are called to work with these middle schoolers and high schoolers, and we want to figure out how to do that. So we are still navigating it, but the Lord is providing ways. Next slide. So, but there is hope. This is a verse that has been near and dear to my heart for a long time. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Romans 15:13. And so the Lord is doing things. The Lord is drawing people to him. He's opening doors where we didn't think there was even a door that existed. So I share challenges, but I want you also to know that there is hope, and we are seeing the Lord provide in amazing ways. Next slide. So I believe salvation is a miracle, and it comes from the Lord. And so this verse from Mark 10, the disciples were even more amazed and said to each other, who then can be saved? Jesus looked at them and said, with man this is impossible, but not with God. All things are possible with God. So I cling to this as well as we think about the furthest out there person who seems like their heart is so hard and it feels like they would never go to church. They could never open up the Bible. Well, guess what? With God it is possible. And so clinging to this as we try to do this ministry. Next slide. And with that being said, some of you might be familiar with a story I had shared. The young man sitting in the chair with crutches, his name is Arthur, and I've known him for a long time. And he is from a family that I would say is, they don't go to church. They might have a faith, but they're not really Christian. But Arthur started coming along to our activities. He kept coming, and he would invite his friends, but he'd say, like, I love coming to Young Life stuff, but, God's not really for me. And we kept praying for him. And we also see great leadership in him. And we had just said before this summer camp, this was 2024, we said, man, if the Lord gets a hold of Arthur, we just see him as being a leader. And we see the Lord being able to use him in a mighty way. And the Lord, in his goodness and graciousness, stirred in Arthur's heart, and he stood up and said, I want to follow Christ. We do something at our camps called the Say So, and it comes from let the redeemed of the Lord say so. And so it's a chance for a youth, if they want to say, hey, I'm taking a step toward Christ, or I'm like convinced and I want to walk with Christ now. So he did that, and we have been seeing him growing. He's being discipled. He's going to a church. And so just that miracle of salvation, I just wanted to share this story and celebrate that, and that we could celebrate that together of something that the Lord is doing in the life of this young French man. And he is so precious. Maybe one day I'll get to bring him to Iowa and you can meet him. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is really exciting. For some of you who don't know this, when I first started working for Young Life, I was actually in the Paris area for a few years, a long time ago. We have not had ministry there for a while, but for the past 1.5 to 2 years, have had some great conversations and connections happening with a church and other people. In fact, there's a strong Ukrainian population that goes to this one particular church, and Young Life in Ukraine is actually quite big. And so these Ukrainians know Young Life, and they kept saying to the pastor, you need Young Life, we need Young Life. And there were some other circumstances, and so this picture was just from this last spring. Me and some of the staff that I work with and some people from the church in Paris, and we had a special event to try to present what would it look like if we could work together to try to start Young Life in this particular area in Paris. And so, next slide, please. In September, I was just in Paris again. I've actually been going quite a lot. It's 3 hours fast train, just in case you were wondering, from Grenoble to Paris. But just praying for next steps. Okay, Lord, what do you have? We don't want to get ahead of the Lord, but we really want to follow the Lord. And it just seems like so many doors are opening. So in this picture, there are a couple people who live in France, who are French, who are considering joining us with the work in Paris. And that being said, for me, it's really exciting, a little scary, but I'm planning on moving back to Paris, hopefully this summer. After being in Grenoble about 12 years, that feels crazy. It's very different, night and day, Grenoble and Paris, but I feel like the Lord is leading me there. So that's one of my prayer requests, but just really praying that the Lord would make the timing clear. Next slide. And so here are a few prayer requests. If you want to take a picture, feel free to take a picture. But just to pray as we think about how can we get Young Life going in Paris, pray for the process of me moving, pray for the Lord to raise up more workers in France, people who can volunteer, people who can potentially work, and also just administrative things that we have to figure out in France. So hopefully you got a picture of that. Next slide. Here's a QR code. If you would like to connect with me, start getting my newsletters, my updates, any other information that you might want to know, please scan that. And it'll take you literally like 30 seconds to fill out the form. Also, I think we'll have that available. You can scan it later, hopefully. But yeah, that's just a way for me to get to know some of you better and be more connected here. And I'm just so grateful to be part of the Wellspring family. It means a lot, and I know a lot of you don't know me very well, but hopefully we'll have a chance to get to know each other soon. Thank you so much.